With an unprecedented ability to put attacks into your card pool, Devil Jin is a character like we have not seen yet, for the most part, in universes. So join me as we go through a discussion of a deck that I have built for Devil Jin. The following deck has been rated E for experimental. User testing is advised. Hello, everybody. Daniel here with the final contender. And today I want to take you through a look at my first experimental deck list of Devil Jin. This is one of the promo characters which is coming out with the Season 3 local qualifiers. And not only does the artwork look spectacular on these, Devil Jin is going to be bringing something interesting to the table. And I think it is going to be worth discussing. So I'm going to go through the cards relatively quickly, and then we're going to separate from that, and we're going to discuss some of the various combinations and synergies that this brings. Okay, so let's start with a plain reading of Devil Jin. Devil Jin is a 5-hand size 35 health character on the Chaos, Evil, and Fire symbols. He has 2 abilities. Response: once per turn, after you check an attack, add it to your card pool and draw a card. Your check gets +1 for each attack in your card pool. Enhance: add 1 attack from your discard pile to your card pool. Your attack gets 1 damage for each attack in your card pool. You may change this attack zone to the zone of the added attack. The first one is really big. Let's assume that you are doing nothing but playing attacks. What this says is once per turn, when you are playing attacks, if you check an attack, the attack you are playing, or the card you are playing, ignores progressive difficulty, and you check a 4. Really strong. It means that if you have played 3 attacks and you've added in a card pool to each, so there's 6 cards in your card pool, then you go to play a 3 diff foundation. If you check an attack, you then proceed to add that attack to the card pool. You add 7 to the check, and so you checked a 10, and you needed a 9. It's just like checking a 4. If you have 4 attacks in your card pool, you're playing a 5, you would normally need a 9. You check a 3, you check an attack, add to the card pool. There are now 6 cards in the card pool. So instead of a 10, you have checked a 9. Same thing as checking a 4 with no progressive difficulty. You commit 1, and you're good to go. It's a very strong ability, and the fact that you draw a card means even if you fail to check, you can just get a card in your hand and call the turn done. Very, very good. The ability to add cards from your discard pile to your card pool means not only can you change the zone of your opponent's attacks to block more effectively, or your attacks to attack more effectively, you can also add cards into the card pool to give your attacks specific abilities, which we'll go over when we start talking about the cards. Speaking of, let's go ahead and dive into a discussion about the attacks. Walk the Dog. Walk the Dog is a printed 8, usually 4 difficulty attack, which is 6 low for 6. It has stun 1 and powerful 3. It has enhanced draw card for each copy of Walk the Dog in your card pool. So if you have a copy of Walk the Dog in your discard pile, let's say you're playing this as your second attack. So you've already went first, and you've already had two cards in the card pool. So this is your third card. So you play this on a 4 with 2 progressive difficulty on a 6. You then add another copy of Walk the Dog to your card pool, giving this 4 damage, making it a 6 low for 10. And then you draw 2 cards just because there's a second copy of Walk the Dog in your card pool. Very good. Camouflage Counter. This is one of my favorites here. That's a 4 diff, 2 low for 4. Response card pull. After another attack deals damage, add this card to the top of your deck. Your next check to play card gets +1. And charge, range, stun 1. The ASWE response doesn't matter. So, with this, if you add this card to your card pool, as long as you are damaging attacks, 1, you are guaranteed to always check a 4. 2, when you go to use this ability, you are basically checking a 5 with no progressive difficulty as you add into the card pool. And the fact that it keeps clearing itself out, this card is just a perfect fit. There's some additional combos which we'll get to later. Titan Armbar is a 7 diff, 5 high for 5 with stun 2. It simply says, while it's in your card pool, all of your attacks get 2 damage. So on your first attack, you add this to your card pool, and all of a sudden, your first attack is getting plus 4 damage. All the other attacks are getting guaranteed 2 damage. I think this is, at least 2 is going to be real good in the deck. Black Abyss. It's a 5 low 6. Your next check plan attack gets plus 1. And once in your momentum, you can add a bunch of stats to stuff. This is relevant because it is an ally, and it is a 1 low block, which we'll skip ahead. Black Abyss Sabbath is a 5 high 5 diff, which is a ally 1 high block. Enhanced spin momentum. Your next check play card gets plus 2. Your rival's next check play card gets minus 2. Only running 1 copy of this. 4 is this. The reason for that is that these are, in my mind, going to frequently be used to block with. Changing something to low, blocking with a low, changing something to high, blocking with a high. Twisting Azure Inferno. 4 diff, 4 mid for 4. If this attack damage is 7 or greater, for the rest of the turn, your checks get plus 1, and your rival's checks to play box get minus 1. If you play an action, this card gets plus 2 damage. So if they don't have any damage reduction on face, as your first action, you add Titan Armbar into your card pool, you give this 4 damage, and it turns itself on. Very strong ability in my mind, in a deck like this. Besiege is a very, very good 3 diff. A 3 diff 3 mid for 4 that pardon me, can only be blocked with a plus 3 block, which you don't always have access to. So, and with a plus 1 mid block. This is just a very, very solid card. And then Rando's Spirit Gun. 2 copies of Rando's Spirit Gun. So, this is a 5 diff 5 mid for 5. It is a 2 check, so very important. Keep that in mind. If you receive a speed and damage bonus, this gets plus 2 speed and plus 2 damage. Or enhance, you can play once per turn abilities on your character a second time this turn. Only playable if this card is immediately preceded by an attack or face down card. Really, really strong. So let's say that you attack with something and then you put a camouflage counter in the card pool. And you attack with randos. You trigger this ability. And then you can give it some additional damage. As long as you continue to hit, for your next 2 attacks, you can effectively play them with no progressive difficulty on a 5 check. You're guaranteed 2 additional attacks at that point by adding the camouflage counter back into the card pool. And then it's just, yeah, I think this might need to be more of. We'll see. Damage is easy. Speed is a little more difficult. We are running 3 copies of Teamworks. So you're going to be putting a bunch of stuff in the discard pile. So changing something to a low early, blocking with a plus 1 low block, and then saying the next one has no progressive difficulties, very good. And it gets damage if you're playing Twisting Azure Inferno or anything, honestly. It's having 5 or more different symbols in your card pool is real trivial to do with Jin. Let's go to the foundations. Horrifying Realization. Form. Flip. Each player discards a card and draws a card. If your rival discards a foundation, they commit a foundation. And Strategic Meeting. Form. Flip. Reveal the top card of your deck. You may add it to your momentum. If it has 3 or more keywords, you may add it to your hand instead. So, these are both form, speed, draw. So with Camouflage Counter, you play 1, you add 1 to the discard pile. If it hits, you add the second Camouflage Counter to the top of the deck. You can then use Horrifying Realization to draw it, or you can use Strategic Meeting. Since it has 3 keywords, Strategic Meeting will put it in your hand. So this will let you loop Camouflage Counter 1 or 2 or 3 times, depending on how many of these you have in the card pool. Capture the Target. 3 attacks in your card pool is real trivial with Jin. So you can generally just ready this. The big three, similarly, three attacks in the card pool let you draw. Sometimes you'll have deadlock and you'll be able to get additional speed, but usually you'll just be flipping it to draw a card. Graceful Maneuvers says this my block has no progressive difficulty. Well, we'll usually say my block, but my block has no progressive difficulty. This tag is -2 speed. It's a very strong foundation for Jin. Easily excited for speed bonuses. Fearsome Transformation for additional card draw. As Friendship for blocking. Award the Victor. Award the Victor says flip. After you hit something, flip. Jin's ability is guaranteed on my next check. Very strong card. Nice Tries can be committed on your turn with no penalty. Confuse is good for the environment right now with a whole bunch of stuff that need to be removed. Resting Between Balance and Struggling with Studies. These are both defensive cards and are very good for his ability, which I'll get into that here in a little bit. Monster Aggression gives speed and damage to Rando Spirit Gun. Lemillion Big 3 will give speed to Rando Spirit Gun, the 1 speed we need, and you can change something to another zone and give it additional stats. And the Terrific Trio says as your third or later attack, this attack gets +2/+2 if you remove it, which also will trigger Rando's Spirit Gun. So very quick on that. Let me go into some of the combinations. I spoke of these before, but let's go ahead and look at these in more depth. Okay, let's talk defense first, because I think that is going to be where Jin is going to surprise a bunch of people. Resting Between Bounce. Response commit after you make a check to play a foundation. That check gets +2. Enhance rival's turn. Destroy. Add an ally card from your card pool to your hand. Struggling with Studies. Enhance. Flip it. This is your rival's third or greater attack this combat phase. Add 1 card from your card pool to your hand. Response before one of your foundations would be flipped due to a rival effect. Flip this foundation instead. So we've got 3 copies of each in the deck. What these both say is that for attacks that have the same attack zone and block zone, you can add this to the card pull and pull up a perfect block. So for the first one, 4 Black Abyss and 1 Black Abyss Sabbath. These are +1 blocks that are allies. So you can add one of these to the card pool, change the zone, use this to pick it up, and have the correct block associated with that particular zone. It's going to be very good in that regard. Struggling with Studies also for the same, as well as Besiege, which is a +1 mid block. We've got some 2s which you can always grab if need be. Here's a mid with Rando's Spirit Gun as needed. But so both of these specifically, you change the zone, you pick up the appropriate attack, and you block maybe where they were not expecting you to. Very, very good. Camouflage Counter. Add this. If you don't think you're going to be able to block or even block fully, you can add this to the card pool. And then when you are hit, because another attack dealt damage, put this on top of the deck to guarantee both a +1 to the check, and then if needed, a use of Jin's ability on the next attack. I think this is also going to surprise quite a few people that are not expecting it to occur. Those are the big ones. Graceful Maneuvers is just going to be real solid. It may deserve to go up to a higher value than just a 2 of. It may need to be a 4 of. But 2 of is just basically -2, and your block ignores progressive difficulty is solid. On a similar note, add in something like Black Abyss or Camouflage Counter and block with Teamworks. On the next one, you add a card to your card pool, and you proceed to just block with no progressive at that point, based off whatever you have in hand. So I think Teamwork is also going to be a good addition to this. So those are the main tricks for Chaos. Let's go ahead and talk about offense. Okay, offense. This is going to be where a bunch of the straight up tricks come into play. So I already mentioned a bunch of these in brief, but Walk the Dog, being able to add another copy of Walk the Dog and draw more cards is going to be very strong. There are only 3 copies in the deck. I think 3 is going to be sufficient, but the fact that it generally requires a low means you could play this on the opponent's after the opponent has 4 things committed. You could play this on one of Jin's once per turn usages and be guaranteed that it hits. Camouflage counter looping, like I said, you hit with something, you attack with something, add this to the card pool. If it hits, you put it on top, use one of these form abilities to draw it, and then play it again, and another copy of Camouflage counter back into play. If the first does not hit, then you proceed to play another attack, add a second one in. If that hits, you add both to the top of the deck. At that point, you attack with something else normally, check the 4, add that to the card pool, and use a ability such as the big 3 to draw the second Camouflage counter off the top of the deck at that point. Honestly, for that matter, it may be good to not immediately have one go to the top of the deck if you don't have these. You might want to put 2 on top of the deck, check 1, draw the other, and then add to the card pool, just from having card draw abilities on the board. Titan Armbar is going to be I would not be surprised if, aside from Camouflage counter, might be the first card that gets played or gets added each turn, meaning your first attack is probably going to be a +4 damage high attack. Real good if you've got a Twisting Azure Inferno coming down. There are only a couple of high attacks as well, 2 arm bars and the Black Abyss Sabbath in the deck, so this gives you a good way to mix it up. That being said, I do think that since we've only got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mid attacks in the deck, shifting these to high or low is also going to be pretty good. Don't hesitate, however, to optionally not change it. So yeah, just keep that in mind. We start by difficulty here. Camouflage counter, Twisting Azure Inferno, and Besiege all ultimately can take the stats pretty well if you end up having to use his once per turn unexpectedly. So starting with a Black Abyss or Black Abyss Sabbath into a rando's Spirit Gun, into a Walk the Dog, into another Walk the Dog, into another Walk the Dog. I mean, I think that this as a 5 hand size character, you're going to be drawing more cards than expected for most people. I think that truthfully, Devil Jin is going to be closer to a 6 or 7 hand size character. Even if you do not pass the check, you're always able to draw an extra, so it's worth keeping in mind. On top of all of this here, for momentum, powerful 3, powerful 4 and EX2, and then a momentum for +2 on your check, -2 on the others. I think that getting momentum is going to be very useful. We don't. This is the only EX powerful in the deck, but I don't think that it's going to be too difficult to just use up that momentum in various ways. So that is the deck. Let's go ahead and give some final thoughts. So my final thoughts about Devil Jin. I think the character is very interesting. It's going to encourage a play pattern we truthfully haven't seen before. Not really. The closest we've come to it is Kamui Woods 2, being able to add something into your card pool, and it doesn't count towards aggressive. But in this case, with a constantly scaling damage ability, changing the attack zone, I think that Devil Jin is going to be a powerhouse, all truth to be told. There's going to be a lot of work to be able to optimize the character, I don't doubt. But I think that we've got a good initial one. I think that this or the Evil are the candidates for probably the best version of Devil Jin. But I really like Camouflage Counter. If nothing else, the ability to say every attack gets progressively more damage, and I'm doing nothing, I'm guaranteed checking 4s, is by itself a relatively strong ability. So, yeah, I think that's where we're at. I haven't included any kind of sideboard since I don't know yet what the meta is going to look like at the time that I'll be able to get my hands on the character. We almost certainly will need to be moving some things around. We might need more enhanced card draw. We might need more defense. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But I think this is going to be a solid core. Let me know what you think. Try the deck out. If your locals will let you try proxying the character. Let me know how this has worked for you, and we'll see how this works going forward. So, hope you all have enjoyed. If you have, thank you. Y'all have a great day.